All right. So pleased to be joined right now by one of the top prospects in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, Jordan Groshans. Welcome to the walk-off, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. How's your 2021 treating you?
It's good, getting ready for spring training and whenever that's going to be, but getting ready for a big year and got special plans, so I'm ready.
Yeah, it's not been an easy year for any of us, but minor league ball players, you guys have kind of had it especially tough here. You got to be getting sick of the non-stop uncertainty, eh? Do you know where you're playing this year? Are they sending you to New Hampshire? Do you have a start date?
I don't know anything yet. They just told me to be ready to go when spring training comes around, and that's what I'm going to do. But it's hard, because of COVID and everything and whatnot, and everything getting pushed back. But I'm doing what everybody else doing, training, getting ready to go for whenever we get that call to come back. So I assume that's probably where I'll end up. Not sure, but wherever they send me, I plan to do well.
So you're feeling a little bit of a mental drain with this constantly, all the balls up in the air, eh?
Yeah, I mean it's tough not knowing anything and all the uncertainty, but it'll figure itself out. So like I said, I'm along there with everybody else, just wanting to get back to playing.
Well, let's go over the insanity of the last year here. Tell me a little bit about last year's spring training, the first one in Dunedin, because that had to have been a roller coaster of a month for you emotionally, right? Like you're healthy
Oh
again.
yeah.
You come back from injury from 2019. You're making developmental progress. You're watching your name kind of move up the prospect ranks, and then everything gets shut down. What was that like for you? And what was the feeling around the clubhouse when kind of the news came down that spring training is done?
Well, first off, yeah, it was tough coming off a rehab year. Finally getting healthy, showing what I can do again after I got hurt. Get there, start doing well, showing good strides, and then it gets canceled. It was tough. I think at first, I don't think the mood in the clubhouse was that bad because I don't think anybody in the world thought that it was going to be like that. I think we were at the point where it was, hey, go home for a couple weeks, keep your training up, we'll be back. Not, hey, this whole year is going out and now it's affecting this year. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it wasn't too bad. I was fortunate enough to go to the 60 man, so I got a lot more opportunities than a lot of people. But even with Rochester and Toronto and the 60 man, it was still tough. Living in the bubble and stuff like that. So I don't think people really understand what goes on behind the scenes. I think they just see, hey, they're in Rochester and they're on the 60 man and they're playing baseball. It's like, it's not that simple, you know. So it
Yeah.
was a little tougher than we thought it would be, but we managed to get through it.
How long after things shut down in March did it take for you to get word about the alternate site? Where were you during your month or two or three before they kind of figured out where they were sending you?
I was at home. I came straight home and I picked up right where I left off when I
You're
left
a
for the
Texas
off
boy, right?
season.
Is that where you're at
Yeah,
right now? Yeah.
yeah. I'm in Texas, and yeah, I picked up right where I left off, started training again, and one day I can't remember the time frame. But one day Gil called me and he was like, "Hey man, we're gonna send you up to Rochester, the 60 man, and to Toronto first, obviously." He was like, "You're gonna go to big league camp and get to be around those guys." And I mean, I was excited, because I just wanted to play, and by that time, that's when more news came out with everything. We knew like how severe things were and that the
Hmm.
season was going to be, canceled and a lot of people were going to be opting out, stuff like that. But just to get that opportunity was good, because everybody else they had to stay home. They didn't get to do
Yeah.
anything.
Was that
So
your first time in Toronto?
that was my first time. Yep.
First time in Canada?
First time ever. Yep.
Yeah. How was the experience? I like you just kind of touched on it there. When you were at Rogers Center, what was that experience of being bubbled in a stadium like?
It was nice, but for me, I was living the dream. I'm sure a bunch of those guys were probably kind of sick and tired of, being in a bubble, stuff like that. But for me, it was my first time. So every day was exciting. I didn't care what we had to do. I did it and I got to enjoy it, because it was my first time up there, getting to experience the Rogers Center, getting to play on it every day. So for me, I was kid in a candy store. I was couldn't wait to tell my dad and my mom and my brother like how my day went when I got done, so it was
Was
good for
that your
me.
first
I loved it.
time? Was that your first time on a big league field? Like just kind of going through the motions there?
Oh no, I played when I was in high school. I did the All American games or whatever, and I did
Right.
Petco and Wrigley. Um, Besides that, no, I've never been on a big league field.
Yeah, that's very
So
cool. Was there any one story or experience that kind of stood out in your mind from your time at the Rogers Center bubble?
yeah, I would say my first day, one of the coaches came up and he was like, "Hey man, just you're a young kid, you got a bright future, just take it in. Don't try and come up here and do too much. Enjoy the experience." And I remember they like later that day they opened up the bubble, not the bubble, the ceiling, and I saw the big needle thing. I don't know what
Oh
it's
yeah.
called, but
Yeah, the
yeah,
CN Tower,
I
yeah.
was it was huge, and that was like that's one thing I do remember was when they opened it up because you see it on TV and you're like that's probably pretty big, but I didn't realize it. It literally looks like it's like 30 feet away. It's like huge. But that was cool. For me, that experience was awesome. I got to take everything in and experience the big league life, and I think that definitely helps me moving forward. So
It must have been really weird, eh? Your first time in Toronto, and they're like, don't go outside, don't look around, don't explore this, go.
yeah, it was tough. I had my hotel room was like, it looked out over there was like a railroad track next to the Rogers Center. It's like a train deal.
Yeah.
And I was like looking out and I was like, man, I wish I could just walk around out there, meet people, say what's up, see everything, try new foods. But it sucked not being able to do that, but everything else is awesome. But I'll be back. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's a good mentality to have. It's the only way to stay sane, really, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were lucky enough to have Joey Murray on the cast a few weeks ago, buddy of yours, fellow Jays prospect, right?
Oh
Another
yeah.
guy who was at that alternate site. And he mentioned that despite there not being the in-game competition and growth that comes with a regular minor league season, that he still kind of felt like he developed as much or even more during his time at the alternate site than he did even ever before because he'd never been in an environment where the knowledge and information sharing was quite so prevalent. And he even mentioned you by name as a guy that like he could kind of pick your brain on what you were seeing in the hitters in the batter's box as just the pitches that were coming at you. How did you feel about your growth as a player during your time at the alternate site? And did you kind of have a similar experience with that group of guys?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I said earlier, with everything that was going on, it was hard to bring that game like adrenaline. And I think with that group of guys, it was really good because we were able to kind of force that with each other. We were able to go in there every day, and we had such a good environment, such a positive environment with those guys, especially the older guys in the clubhouse. Ruben Tejada, people like that. TJ's
Yeah.
like been to the big leagues. People like that. So we got to create that game like environment and that competition within each other. But at the same time, I think, like Joey said, with the growth and development and all that, I think it was good because during the season, I feel like you can kind of get lost in your numbers. You get too caught up on what you want to post, like your numbers, what you want to post for MLB, stuff like that, how many homers you want to hit. And I think this year it was solely focused on just getting better, picking each other's brains, working with each other. And it was a season, it was a developmental season, I think, for me, and I think that's what everybody kind of got out of it was we can get better, but we could also treat it like a season, and I think that's why once we all kind of got that attitude and that environment together, I think that's when everybody really started to take off and like figure out who they are as a player, grow as a player, especially me being probably one of the younger guys there, me and Simeon. It was good just to see how those guys, because those guys have all failed before. They've had really great careers, but at the same time, they've had times in their careers where they haven't done well. And for young guys like me and Simeon, I think that was really good because we learned how to handle failure. Because when I went to Toronto, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't do anything. I tried to do too much. I tried to impress. I tried to be the kid straight off an injury that's going to come out here and light up the big leagues,
Right.
and it's not my ability. It's just, I wasn't in that mental spot yet to be ready for that, So
Well, it's a
I
lot of
think,
pressure to put on yourself too, right? Like,
yeah, I just think that's how I am. I hold a lot of high expectations on
yeah.
myself. But yeah, with Rochester and everything, it was one of those things where we learned how to fail, but how to move on from it too. Take failure and not prolong it. But it was good, man. Joey Murray's, y'all are gonna love him. Let me tell you, y'all are gonna
Yeah.
love him.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Actually, that was actually going to be one of my next questions here. At the alternate site, were there when you were taking live BP, were there some pitchers you faced that you're like, oh yeah, this guy is nasty and he is on his way to the bigs? I mean, you mentioned Murray. Did you have a few others that were just like, wow, once this kid puts it all together, it's going to be deadly?
Oh yeah, Simeon, obviously younger
Yeah.
kid, can really throw. Patrick Murphy, obviously he ended up in the league. But yeah, I mean, they were obviously all good. They're all higher level guys. But Joey Murray's just different. He's that guy that when you have to face him, you're like, ooh, great, here we go. So, but yeah, they were all good. But Murray was, for me, I think Murray was just different. He was. I think he's been that way the whole time. He's just got something special about him. He can really pitch. So I think he's going to do a lot of good things at the big league level. So
Just he's so different, he throws the hitter off a bit, I'm guessing, eh? Like just his spin rate's so high and it just like how he was
yeah,
explaining it is that what hitters have told him is that it looks like his ball is rising.
it
Is that
does.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and because of his release point, also the kid's got nasty off speed. So you already got one pitch that's hard enough to hit because it looks like it's rising at you, and then it's going up, and then you got another one that's really good going down. So you're kind of stuck in the middle, But he, I remember there was one stretch where I got him a couple times where I had like 3 or 4 hits off him in a row, and then he came back the next week and sat me down 3 times in a row. So it's one of those things where he's just got talent, man. He's very humble kid. Sticks to his business, does everything the
Mhm.
right way. He's the ideal teammate that you want in the big leagues. So I think he's got a bright future, and I think he's going to do like I said, a lot of good things at the big league level. So
The humbleness factor, you nailed it on the head because I know when we talked to him, like just humble through and through. But what's really cool about that kid is that velocity is such a big thing when it comes to pitching in the game these days. And to see a kid who's topping out at 90, 91, but still just like continue to rise up the prospect ranks, as a guy who's an underdog fan, it's inspiring to see, it's very cool to see.
yeah, and for me as a hitter, I think, and this is just solely my opinion. I don't know where a lot of
Yeah.
people are, but Joey, I think what the reason Joey's hard to hit, a lot of people see his velo and they might be like, oh my God, he's not 95, 97. Yeah, but he's 90, 92, and he knows exactly what he wants to do with it and exactly how he's going to pitch you. And for me, those guys are dangerous. The guy that gets in there and throws 96, 98, whatever. It's not, I mean, see it deep, pound it the other way, no biggie. But a guy like that, it's hard to have a plan with. But yeah, he's good, man. He's good.
That's awesome. I mean, as a Jays fan, I love hearing that.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned, and this is a really interesting thing that I hadn't really thought of about the alternate site, is that baseball is such a data-driven sport, and the numbers mean so much. It must have been, for a lack of a better word, weird to not worry about your numbers, to just like literally focus on the developmental side of stuff.
Yeah, it was. I think at first it was kind of a buzzkill because you're like, man, you do well for a week and you're like, man, I would have had a great average this week. But I think where a lot of guys really started to grow and be the best players I think that they can be is when they decided that, hey, that doesn't matter. There's no stats being taken. I mean, obviously you have some numbers and stats that the coaches want to take and whatnot for reports and all that stuff. But as a player, there's nothing going up on MLB. All right. There's nothing, fans aren't going to see it. Nothing. You're there every day. It's kind of like private, you go, you do your thing. And I think people at the end of the day, they really started to grow whenever they realize that don't matter, that they go into every day learning how to get better, how to do things that maybe in the previous season that they've struggled with. And I think at the end of the alternate site, I can 100% say everybody there was happy with the progress they've made, because baseball is the one sport that you can be a Hall of Famer and you're still learning when you're done playing. So there was guys there that they've had really good years and they got even better this year, because they just keep on learning. And for younger guys like me and Simeon, I think it was really, really helpful because we're so young and we were able to, like Kevin Smith, Forrest Wall, people like that, Josh Palacios. They've been there, they've been to the highest ranks of the minor leagues, they've knocked on the door and they were kind of like the mentors. And, Andy Burns was a big one for me. That's my guy. Not with us anymore, but
seasoned vet. Absolutely.
He's just a guy that, man, he brought energy to the ballpark. He was ready to learn, but he was also there to teach too, and I think that was very helpful with everybody. Just kind of guys like that being to show up like that in that environment every day and be able to do the things that they did. I think if they didn't do that, it wouldn't have been near as good as what it was. Because don't get me wrong, I think I tell people out of all the alternate sites, we were the best one. I don't care. Anybody says.
Yeah.
I don't care. Any other organization, I think we were the best one.
This is what Joey Murray said. The exact same thing. Absolutely.
I remember I told Huck and guys that were there, I said, man, you put this team together in a season. I said, ooh, we're doing some damage. No, but it was good. I think with the situation, with where we were located, because it wasn't the best of areas, but I think we made it the absolute best it could be, and the one thing I love about it is 10 years from now, I'll be able to look back and be like, man, I was a part of that group that went through the COVID season.
Of course, like what a unique scenario to go through. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and you kind of touched on it too. Like it must have been such an interesting vibe to have guys like yourself and Murray and Simeon who were kind of going through all of this stuff for the first time. And then you have this opportunity to be around guys that are literally 10-year pro ball veterans.
Yeah. It's like I said, it is a huge learning experience for me. And I think being around those guys helped me mature, obviously. And obviously made me a better player, but I think the guy that went into Toronto at the beginning, if I could have been the guy that was in Rochester in Toronto, it would have been a completely different story. But I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm glad I got to do what I got to do. But, man, it was fun. It was a good group of guys.
Yeah.
So, and we all keep up with each other too. We all we have a little WhatsApp message and whatnot. So it's good, man. Those are good dudes.
Well, I mean, unique experiences always grow camaraderie. Like that's very cool to see how tight that alternate site became. That's great, man. So Jordan, you actually got to experience something that the truth is 99.9% of high school ball players don't, and that you were drafted. But the truth is, dude, you experienced what 99% of guys who are drafted don't get to experience, which is going in the top half of the first round. You went 12th overall in 2018. I'd love to hear your draft day experience, and more so, what was the scouting process teams took the weeks and months before the draft? What was the who was contacting you? What were the meetings like? Just kind of go through your experience.
I'll do the pre-draft stuff first.
All right.
So it was good. I did, I had one game where I had scouts starting to come. It it was good. I was like, man, I think I got a shot at this. I came off a hot summer, started doing well, and then every game, more and more kept showing up, kept doing better and better, more and more kept showing up, and then after the games, it would go into, hey, we're going to come after school on a Tuesday. Can you hit BP for the GM or the scout, like in front of like certain guys, So that was that. And then meetings started to come around, and that was fun for me, getting to sit down with I sat down with every team, talked about, what they saw in me potential wise, asked me what I wanted to do, college, draft, whatever it was. And that was good. That was fun, but the thing about the draft that's so hard is it's so last minute. That's the best way I can describe it. And anybody that's been drafted will tell you the same thing. It's hey man, we're about 97%. You're going 13th, or say it's like 15th overall. You're going 15, and then 30 seconds comes in where they put their pick in, and your agent will call you and be like, "Yo, they passed on you. Someone else came in. You're going to 18 now."
Wow.
So that it's just so unpredictable. They all have their boards. They set it up. Teams set it up how they think the draft should go and where guys should go. And then, like I remember Kyler Murray went in our draft 9th overall. That was every year a high draft pick is like a wow, like no one expected that, and that was that guy. That was the guy that it happened, and it kind of threw stuff off. People were like, "Yo, like I don't know about that one." So it was good, but draft day I was with the family, sitting at it was like a hot wing crawfish place. It's called 242 Pub and Grill, by the way, just endorsing that out there.
Shout out.
I was actually eating a plate because draft day came around. I told my dad, I said, it's God's plan. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm just going to sit here. I love hot wings. Favorite thing. I told him, I said, at the end of the day, whatever's meant to be is going to be. I said, I'm going to sit here with my family. I'm going to eat these hot wings. And if I get drafted, I get drafted. If not, I'll go to school and I'll get drafted after.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there, and then slowly, like my friends started, I invited a couple friends, and they did what we call telescope around here. That game where you tell people, you say you start with something, by the end, it's completely different.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
I invited 3 of my closest buddies. 20 people showed up, and I'm like, yo. I said, what are y'all going to do when I don't get drafted? Like, I go to college. That's going to be embarrassing. So then my high school coaches showed up, and then they invited people. Next thing you know, the news is there. And I'm like, I'm not lying. Like, I literally went up to the guy and I said, how did you get here? Like, I didn't tell you. And he was like, we know people and we just want to get this moment. And I'm like, I said, well, if I don't get drafted, can you cut that out? Can you like not do it?
He's like, turns out, Jordan, your friends are big mouths.
Yeah. And I'm like, I literally told him, like, bro, I mean, obviously it worked out. We had a good time, but I was like, man, that was close to me just, getting embarrassed. But I didn't know I was going to be the Blue Jays were obviously, my dad called it. My dad said, he was like, out of all the teams, he goes, I just got a feeling the Blue Jays are going to take you. And I'm like, well, I said, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because they were the team that them and the Marlins, they were at every game. They were heavy, scouted me, had previous history because of my brother. But were just hard on me, and then I didn't know I was going to be a Blue Jay till the 11th pick. And my agent called me. He was like, hey, Toronto's going to take you right here. And I'm like, sick. I didn't even ask how much money, nothing. Yeah. I said, sick. Because I didn't care, because I'm a high school kid, I'm 18 years old. I just got picked 12th overall. I don't care how much money that comes with. It obviously comes with a lot of money. I get to go play pro baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so people ask me all the time, like, what was your first thoughts? And I was like, I don't have to do homework anymore. I don't have to write another English paper. I don't have to go to chemistry. I don't have to do physics. Yeah. It's done. I wake up every day and I play baseball. I live the dream, Yeah. So it was good. It was a great day. Family's crying, my brother's crying, all that stuff. I was just smiling. I'm like, I got drafted and I got hot wings. It's a win-win, So it was good. It was definitely a big day. And actually MLB, if you go in the first round, I think it's just the first round, they send you like it's like a big picture frame, and it has like your draft card, the one that he read out.
Oh,
and it has like
nice.
a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's cool. So it's a big thing. I'm gonna have it hung up on my post on my wall and get to look at it all the time and all that stuff. But it was cool. Definitely a
Yeah,
great day.
that's very cool. So I'm curious then, if things were so up in the air, was there a scenario, let's say you dropped to 32nd, you go in the second round all of a sudden. Was college something that you were considering? Like if you dropped a little bit lower, were you like, you know what, I'll go to college and re-enter the draft? Or were you like, you know what, if
Yeah.
I go in the top few rounds, I'm doing it?
Yeah. It for me it was, obviously a financial thing was a big part, obviously,
Right.
because
Of
of
course. The
my
signing bonus. Yeah, of course.
and it wasn't for me, it was a family situation, current state, obviously. So if I was out of the first round, I was going to school. Just because I'm not going to sign for it had to have been going out of high school. It needed to be life changing money. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have anything.
Right.
I had a full ride to the University of Kansas. I can go get a great education, have a backup plan. I said, God forbid I say I make 120 grand. Even as 18 years old, that's a lot of kid, but I can't support, I can't help my family out with that. I can't repay them for getting me to where I am. And then I don't have a degree to boot, So for me, it was, hey, if I'm going to the first round, I'm going to go to school for free. I'm going to go tear it up, get my degree, get drafted. Then I have a degree. I have a fallback. I have a backup plan. God forbid it doesn't work out. But that was the thing with me is just, make sure, everything I do and my parents help me to do is to help secure my future. They don't want me to ever go through struggles. That's every parent wants that.
Yeah. Typical parent, of course.
They don't want you to make a wrong decision at a young age because people think it's cool. They want to set you up for your future and everything and whatnot. So that's the biggest thing whenever I got that call was, for me, it warmed my heart because I knew my parents could relax. They don't have to worry about nothing anymore. And my future's set up, So it was good. It was a great day. Very emotional day. My girlfriend hates this about me. She hates it, but I don't hate it. That's a strong word, but I get very uncomfortable when I see people cry.
Right.
Like I'm the guy that like in movies or Netflix shows, when I see people like cry, I skip past it because I just get weird. It's uncomfortable, So like when my parents and mom started crying, I was like, oh, God. Like here we go.
That's so funny. Is your girlfriend a crier?
No, she's not. I wouldn't say she's a crier.
Yeah.
She's more funny. She's the funniest person I've ever met on the planet.
Yeah.
Great. Definitely the one, all that good stuff. But
that's great, man.
She cries during movies and stuff. She's a movie crier. She'll tear up. And like
you start fast forwarding, and she's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, she like we were watching. I remember for all the fans out there that are going to be listening to this, and you watch the movie called The Art of Racing in the Rain. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you think Marley and Me got you?
Okay.
This one made me cry. I don't cry really.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. But that made me cry really hard, But my girlfriend started crying too, and I looked at her and I was like, please stop. I was like, I'm trying to enjoy it, But it's just that's one of those things with me. I get really like, if you gotta cry, you gotta cry. It's emotional and whatnot.
No, I get it.
For me, it's weird, and I know I'm not the only one, but I just get really like because I don't know what to say or like do. Like, do you want a hug? Like all that stuff. Oh, sorry, I was getting a phone call from someone. But yeah, I'm an ugly crier, so I don't like to cry.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, it's not good, but yeah.
That's great, man. I love that tale. So I know Lansing is no longer an affiliate with the Jays as of this year, but everyone I've talked to who has played there literally raves about it as a wonderful place to play ball. You spent 23 games there in 2019 before getting injured. What was your experience as a Lansing Lugnut? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Great field, great fans, great people. It was awesome. I loved every bit of it. It's just cold. So the first, and I'm a Texas guy. I'm from a part of Texas, kind of not, I wouldn't say country, just not a city guy. And I'm used to it being warm all the time. I'm used to it, like I'm going golfing today and it's gonna be 85 degrees.
Right.
You know.
There is never a time when Canadians are more jealous of Texans than January, by the way. So brag away.
I got friends that are like, man, I'm going snowing this weekend. They're like, what are you doing? I'm going to play golf, you know? But yeah, it's
Lansing. Sorry, I derailed you there.
Oh yeah. Lansing's a great place. It's just cold, you know. And so for me, I haven't been to other affiliates. It sucks because I haven't been to all the affiliates yet, so I can kind of compare and be like, oh, what was the best one? Because I've heard I played at Buffalo, love Buffalo. New Hampshire haven't been to yet. Didn't go to Vancouver. But Lansing's just different. You know, it's a good environment. You know, a lot of guys live right there by the field, right next to the Capitol or whatever it is. But it's just a great environment, you know.
Well, it was high A, correct? So it's kind of the first time that when you're going up the ranks that like you do have a full fan base and a full season and stuff, right? Or
I think Lansing was low A.
Low A, okay, yeah.
And then Dunedin was high A, but now I think Dunedin's low A and Vancouver's the new high A.
Right. This is where I was getting all.
Which I think is good because I remember there was talks about the Vancouver Canadians going to the Oakland Athletics. And in my mind, I'm like, that's dumb.
It is dumb.
What Canadian wants to go watch the Athletics minor leagues in Vancouver? You know, they want to go watch the Blue Jays, you know?
Of course.
And I'm like, man, I told my agent, I was like, who thought of that? Like, whoever thought of that was just not smart because that was not a good idea. But
so as and I've been a lifelong Jays fan. I'm hooked. There's nothing I can do since I was a kid. I've been following them, and to watch this team go from rebuild mode this last year to actually making the playoffs was so exciting, and everything being centered around this young core that's in place for half a decade with all sorts of rumors of other big names being added this offseason. Obviously, the excitement around the fan base is palpable. Is there excitement in the minor leagues ranks too? Like, not that you need more motivation to get to the show, but does it feel like there's a little more to play for with what looks like to be a long-term contending big league team just within your grasps?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the minor league side, you know, a lot of fans, you know, you're obviously, I can tell you're a smart Blue Jays fan. You know you can do your research, but a lot of like the normal average fans don't understand the process. You know, I think they just see the big league team and they're like, man, they're awesome. Like, go Jays. You know, they don't see the up and coming, you know?
Right.
And I think that's what people don't realize is now we're a contending team, right? But we still have so many prospects that are going to make the team even better, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people, they don't understand, like, when I say don't understand the process is they say, oh, the Jays are good this year. They're going to be a contending team, but they can be even better the year after with the guys coming in. You know, it's constant flow. And I think it's not, you know, you see on MLB.com, you know, you see the prospect, you know, 10, 20 prospect list or whatever. There's guys that aren't on those lists that should be on those lists that nobody knows about or no one hears about because they're not a high round draft pick or whatnot. But we have a lot of young prospects coming up that are going to be really, really good. So I'm excited for the future of the program and everything. And I think we're going to win a lot of World Series in the near future. So
God, I love hearing that. And it's interesting because you kind of nailed it there in that there's this real almost panic amongst Jays fans right now as the offseason goes on and everyone's like, oh my God, we've got this hole at third base. There's this hole at center field. But you're nailing it. Like, there are a lot of high-end prospects that are getting better every single day, yourself included on that list. Guys like Austin Martin that are, you know, very well could be there 1 year down the road and we not need to fill those gaps with a free agent type of things. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man. So speaking of rumors and all the talk of Jays management making a big splash this offseason, your name has come up in several trade rumors. Is this the first time that you've dealt with this sort of thing? And what is your mental approach to dealing with an aspect of the game that you literally have no say over?
Yeah, you know, my first year I didn't really worry about it, because I was a first round draft pick straight out. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
This year, obviously, wasn't worried about it too much because at the end of the day, it's a business. It happens. Whatever happens is going to happen. Like I said, it's completely out of my control. There's nothing I can do to prevent it or to stop it. So if it happens, it happens. So that's what I told my agent I told him I love the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I want to be a franchise type player. I want to be with the Blue Jays for a long time. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And there's nothing that I can do about that. I was hoping nothing would happen, but nothing happened. So I'm good. I'm happy and I'm glad I'm still here. And
you try not to stress about it then, eh?
Yeah, I actually deleted Twitter. I took a break from it because I would constantly, I'd go on Twitter and my dad's bad about it, having a kid, he loved seeing my name. But man, I would get on Twitter and I kept on getting mentioning this, mentioning that, trade rumor. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to I would really
I'm going to drive myself insane. Yeah.
I would wake up to messages on Twitter of people assuming that I was going to get traded, or people, I can't even tell you how many messages I had, DMs being like, hey bro, are you getting traded? Are you leaving? I'm like, I don't know. I just wake up and go hit, and work out. So, I took a break from Twitter for a while.
Without Twitter, where do you get your positivity from?
I get up. I have a good routine. I stay off. I try and stay off social media a lot. I like to live my life and make the fullest of every day.
That's probably the best thing for a human brain you can do is stay off of social media.
Honestly, it was when I was in high school and in my first year in pro ball, I was bad with it. I love social media. I was invested in it. I was cared what people thought about me and stuff like that. But now, I just, with social media, it's so dangerous. It's just a dangerous place to be. And I think it's just better for now just to stay off of it, live my life, do things that I want to do. And honestly, I've never felt better. I'm not worried about what people are saying, what talks are going around. I'm doing what I need to do, and that's it. I'm driven, and my focus and motivation comes from myself and from my family. So it's good. It's awesome.
That's great, Jordan. I'm glad to hear that, man. Since you've been drafted, your stock has literally steadily risen amongst both Baseball America's rankings and the Jays internally. Do you feel any extra pressure when you see that you're the number 2 prospect in the Jays system, when you see that you're the number 29 overall prospect, or do you just kind of ignore all that stuff?
I just ignore it. It's don't get me wrong, it's a good feeling. It's cool.
Of course.
It's a bit oh hey, I'm
a little
the number
validation,
2
sure.
Yeah, but for me, I don't pay attention to that stuff. Really. I don't play to write. I don't play baseball to boost my stuff. I play it because I love it. I have fun. I enjoy the game. And I know there's a lot of people that do that. There's a lot of people that care too much about where certain people ranks them. And at the end of the day, it don't matter. The only thing that matters is if you go out and you be the best person you can be, best teammate, and you play the best of your abilities, it's going to work out. It's going to be good for you. So that's what I do. I try not to focus on that stuff and just be the best player I can be and try and develop into a badass big leaguer. I mean,
I can't wait to see that. So. I love it, man. It's a great mindset, and it's kind of the mindset you have to take. I'm curious if you've ever had, and I know you touched on this a little earlier in the interview, but have you ever had a wow moment in your professional baseball career yet? A moment where you walk onto a field or you accomplish something and you just look around and you're like, I can't believe this is happening to me.
I would say Rochester this year is when I had that light bulb. Made some adjustments with not my swing, just my approach at the plate and some stuff on the defensive side. And it was weird. It was one day I felt this way, and then the next day I came in and started doing this stuff, and I felt like I was a big leaguer. I was doing things. I was hitting pitches. I was fielding ground balls and doing things that I a year ago couldn't do.
What was it about your approach at the plate that you changed?
I found the difference between being ready to hit and actually being ready to hit. And people are like, wait, what? And for me, that was, I was going to the plate and I would go up and I would have an at bat and say I would strike out. I would walk back to the dugout and my hitting corner would be like, "You weren't ready to hit." And I was like, I thought I was. I went up there and he was like, he goes, "When you click and you find out what it means to really be ready to hit," he goes, watch what will happen." And so he had me just basically start a little bit earlier and getting my launch position, I would say, on time and where it should be. And I just started raking. The last, I would say, 2-3 weeks, I hit 3 or 4 home runs, started getting some base hit, like extra base hits, really starting to tear the cover off the ball. And it's all because at that time I knew, hey, I went up there every pitch, I was ready to go. I was ready every pitch to just let it go and just unleash on something. And previously I thought that I was, but I wasn't,
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird, it's one of those just like baseball freak, like weird things you say, but it makes sense to a baseball player, so.
No, honestly, I get it. Like, I'm a professional stand-up comedian, right? So one of the things about, I'm sure baseball and the arts are very similar, that you feel sometimes like you're plateauing and you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and you're just plateauing and you don't feel like you're getting better. And then all of a sudden something clicks, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
and then you just feel like you're on a rocket ship upwards.
Take off.
Yeah, yep. Man.
And there's no better feeling, because I was doing well, I was making good progress, but on the inside, I'm like, man, I could be doing something. It's not that I wanted more. It was just, I could be doing a little extra to be better every day, and once I figured that out for hitting, defense, and like even mentally, I think that's when my career this year really kind of took a turn in the really good direction. So.
Well, that's exciting for all us Jays fans too, man. I'm glad to hear that. Before I let you go, I've got one last question. Just curious about your goals for 2021. Just obviously you want to get to the bigs. That's beside the point. But what are you looking to improve on this year, and where are you hoping to get?
Obviously, the goal is the big leagues. I think I should be there. That's just my opinion, but goals, I want to pick up where I left off. I'm not asking for too much. I'm not trying to do too much. I think the player that I was when I left Rochester, I think was a big league ready player. I think where my mind was at, where my approach was at, where my defense was at, was the best I've ever been in my career. And I don't need to do more. I feel like that's a good pickup spot. I think if I can go into spring training with that mindset and where I was at, I think that'll give me a steady growth and healthy improvement to the big leagues. I think, if I try and go out and I try and, I'm going to hit 25 bombs this year, I'm going to do this. Like, I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble, because then they try and do too much. For me, I know if I can be the guy that I was in Rochester at the end and be that player, those things will happen. Those numbers will, the homers, the doubles, that, like, it'll come along, so that's it. Just be the player that I was and not try and be someone else.
Well, we're rooting for you, my man. We're all excited to see you in a Blue Jays uniform. Thank you so much, Jordan, for taking the time to talk to us today. Honestly, it means a lot, man. And best of luck to you in wherever you're playing this year.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, this is Jordan Groshans with the Toronto Blue Jays, and I am in the Walk Off podcast with Scott Belfort and Adam Mack. Thank you for listening.
Nailed it, buddy. Thank you so much, bud. Yeah, man.
Appreciate you guys having me. I enjoyed
buddy. Enjoy your golf game, dude.